I'm going to mute here.
I think we're going to begin. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Artiga, and I'm a NKA volunteer facilitator. Welcome to our eco-friendly part 3 class today to be taught by Debbie Jensen. This class is being recorded, and you will be able to see the video on YouTube by searching for NKA Idaho. NKA began in the Treasure Valley in 2015, and we are a completely volunteer-driven organization. Our instructors, our facilitators, and 99.9% of our participants are volunteers. And we are very pleased and proud to be able to continue this program online during the pandemic, although we hope that in the future we will be able to have in-person classes again. If you have a question during the presentation, please put them in the chat box. If you go down to the bottom of your screen and click on the little icon that says chat, that is where you can put your questions, and Debbie will address them during the presentation. So it is my pleasure to introduce Debbie Jensen. She is a retired nurse and a very crafty individual. Let me tell you, she's very, very creative and crafty, and she's a good friend. So I can say that about her. She is also a volunteer with NKA and has been a volunteer for about 6 years. So without further ado, we are going to, I'm going to turn this over to Debbie Jensen, who is going to give a very wonderful presentation today.
Good. Okay, today we're going to talk about eco-friendly packaging of gifts. This is something that once you package the gift, that they keep the packaging, and sometimes the packaging is a gift, and other times the packaging is a gift in that they can reuse it. So we're going to go back to the whole thing about that we had previously about how you use eco-friendly types of things. So we're going to reuse, we're going to repurpose, and recycle. By recycling, you can use the package. Okay. The outline is as what is being original? You know, we all think that we have original ideas. And one time, one of my daughters said to me, I said, well, you know, that's my idea. And they just stole my idea. And I thought about, it was something that was really, really interesting. And I thought it was all mine. And she said, Mother, there are no original ideas. What you think of, somebody else has already thought of. And I thought about that because when we lived in Arkansas the first year, I had never seen cotton grow before. And there were just fields of cotton, and they were so beautiful. And the cotton burr with the cotton in it is really a beautiful thing. If you've never seen one, I mean, you're really missing out. And I decided that since I always make my presents at Christmas and at birthdays for my sisters and brothers, of which I have 10, I thought, well, I'm going to give each of them a wreath with cotton burrs. And then I'm going to use some of the pecans out from my pecan tree to, you know, interdisperse in it and whatever. And I made everyone a wreath and sent them out to my family and my mother and whatever. I sent out all these cotton ball wreaths, and they were gorgeous. Well, I no more sent them out thinking that I was, you know, this was an original idea, and be darned if you couldn't buy them on the internet. And I thought, well, I'll be darned. I thought that was my idea. No, it wasn't my idea. So originality is the thing about originality is that I need to get rid of this. I cannot read this screen. Lisa, help me, please. I want to get rid of these pictures. I can't read it if I have
Where's your
this.
cursor? Oh, sorry. Trying to.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get your cursor up here. Gosh, I'm sorry. Here we go. Go up here. Sorry for the inconvenience here. We are moving right on. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to move this. Go up here. Your cursor is disappearing on me. Read it.
I can't. We need to admit someone to.
Okay. I don't know why this is up there, and I don't know why your cursor, folks, if you'll just bear with us for a minute, we're going to get this started here.
That was Gypsy. I admitted her.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, something is wrong with Debbie's computer where I'm having difficulty getting she wants to have the people who are on screen disappear. And it has to do with the view, but the problem is I can't see her cursor. She's having trouble reading her slide. So can we make it disappear altogether? If I had a cursor, I'd be able to do it, Sheena, but without the cursor up there.
Make what? We're trying to make what disappear now?
The pictures.
The pictures of the participants are blocking what she needs to read from her slide.
Let's see. You have standard side-by-side speaker.
Right, and I know all that, but the problem is
side-by-side gallery. So I don't see one that says nowhere, no people.
Can you choose the one that's just the speaker, because that'll just put one person on there and it may give
the ones that I just read are the ones that I see. Are there, where are you seeing one that says just speaker?
I think the single photo is what we're looking for rather than the gallery.
Okay, I don't know if I don't see that choice.
And the problem is that I cannot even see a mouse on her. I don't even see a mouse on her screen.
Okay, so I don't know one that gets rid of the people altogether, but what you can do is speaker only. I mean a speaker, I think you can.
Right. Yeah, no, I know that.
But then just move the picture up to the corner somewhere so it's out of the way. I think that's our only choice. I don't think we get to.
Wait.
Yeah, there we go. We need to,
that's the only thing I see.
yeah.
There, you know, the one, when you have the choices up at the top, the one that has that's on the far,
I think
on the far right, it says swap share screen with video. That one will show just you, Debbie, but then you can move it to push it out of the way. That's the only way I know to make it a little bit better so you can read it.
Yeah. Okay, Sheena, I've got enough that I can read this. And I want to talk about that. I found this quote by Ashley Lorenzana, and it says, no original thought still exists. People are original, each one of them. The same ideas that others had before you are waiting for you to bring them back to life in a new way. The part of who you are that is left behind within these old ideas is what makes them original all over again. So we don't have original ideas, but the way we do things may be original. And one of the things that I'll talk about how some of these ideas I actually cloned from other people. My mother being one of them. Okay, now, uh-oh. Now I cannot move the, shit. I want to go back and I can't move it.
Try it now.
There we go. Okay. The principles of making our life eco-friendly. Remember, one of them is to let things rot. Well, we're not going to do that. But some of them to repurpose, to reuse, the whole thing is that when we reuse, a lot of the things I'm going to show you, you can buy at thrift stores. And remember, we talked about the store where above North End Organics that has a huge amount of craft stuff, has lots of fabric. And I'm not sure whether they have wallpaper books, but I'll tell you how to get some if they don't. I'm going to go through different types of packaging. There's going to be cylinder packages, rectangular packages, cloth packages, and packages wrapped using the Japanese furoshiki method. At the very end, I'm going to demonstrate how to make some of those, but we're going to go through, the demonstration will follow after the discussion. Oh, okay. First of all, the cylinder package. Now, when I say cylinder, I'm talking about mainly cardboard and metal. So these are some things that I've already made. You can use fabric, heavy paper for the body of the cylinder if you want. And you need paper to draw out your pattern, of course. And the paper that I'm usually talking about, the paper side of Wonder Under or Heat and Bond, the sheets of it that you'll have to buy. Rulers, tape measure, and iron. And we're gonna go through how in the world do you make some of these things. Okay, so for the cardboard package, you measure the edge from the edge of the middle ring on the upper part of the cylinder to the edge of the bottom. Then you measure the outside circumference of the cylinder, and you're going to want to add 1/2 inch. And I'm actually going to demonstrate this, how it's done. How all of this is done at the very end. You draw the pattern on a piece of Wonder Under on the paper side using the dimensions that you got. So what you're going to do is you want to do the height and the circumference and the width of the cardboard that you're using. Now, you can do this with fabric, or you can do this with something like wallpaper. I got some wallpaper books. I went to, I just looked on the internet to find companies that sell wallpaper in Boise. Now, I didn't do Meridian or whatever. And the first that I called a design house and I said, do you have any out of date wallpaper books? And she said, yes, I happen to have a couple. And I said, could I either buy them or have them? She said, oh, we just get rid of them, come and get it. And she took my name because she said, we have a lot of the, I'll call you when we have more. I don't know if I want more, but I would like some. And I went and got them, and you'll see one of the packages that I covered with it. You also, on your cylinder, you want to make a straight line from top to bottom. And to know that this is straight, you can use a ruler, and you want the ruler put the upper edge right up against the plastic that goes around the top of it, because you only want that to go from on the cardboard. You only want your fabric or your wallpaper to go only on the cardboard. And the reason that I'm not using any glue is because I do not want to somehow stop the integrity of, or destroy the integrity of the cylinder. And glue is wet, and you never quite know. Now I have a coffee can that is been done, and I will show that to you. And the coffee can was a real thick cardboard and real sturdy. I think that I could have probably used glue on that, but why use it when you have Wonder Under? I mean, you know. Then you're going to place, when you've now cut out the fabric and you put it onto, you've ironed the Wonder Under onto the fabric to make it fusible to the cardboard. Always, when you're doing this, always start at the top, right under that little edge of plastic or metal that's around the top. You want to start there with your iron and keep it always right along that. And you just carefully start ironing it, and you iron it. First you iron maybe an inch or two, and or three, and then you can, once you have that, you can actually, at that line that you've drawn, that's where you're going to start, you can actually then put all the fabric onto that line, the length of the fabric onto that line, and iron down. Now what happens is you always want to go from top to bottom, and you want to go from side to side. And what you're going to do is you want to keep that fabric so that it stays straight. Then you do a little bit more of the top. Just remember, go slow, because you can cover up, you don't want to wrinkle the fabric, and you don't want to make any mistakes about it. But if you always are going from the top first and then go down, what's going to happen is you're going to have a nice smooth edge, and it fuses it right to the thing. Then the top of the lid is usually plastic, and you can put all sorts of things on it. You can glue, this time you'll be able to glue maybe some of the fabric on it. Maybe you want to make a cloth bow. If you've used cloth, maybe you want to make a big cloth bow for the top of it. But you can do all sorts of things with using that. Now these are a couple of the cylinders that have been wrapped or that are going to be gifts. Now you notice I don't have a bow on top of the white, black, and red one, but that is a coffee can, but it's made out of cardboard. And I haven't decided what I'm going to do on the top of it, but the fabric is kind of a neat fabric. So that's what I did with that. Now the second one is a coffee can, but it's got ridges in it. So with ridges in it, you're not going to be able to Wonder Under it. You could decoupage it, I guess, but I don't do that. And this is the originality of this. When I was little, because I had 10 sisters and brothers, we were unable, we took our lunch to school every day. Our school didn't have a cafeteria. And, you know, all a lot of the kids had these wonderful, wonderful lunch boxes, you know, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans and all that kind of thing. Well, we wouldn't be able to have those because they were too expensive and there were other things that were more necessary. My mother was extremely creative, extremely creative. And what she had done is she had saved coffee cans and she had bought some fabric, which was, it was pink as I remembered for the girls. And it was vinyl. It was a vinyl pink. And she must have got it on sale because who covered things with pink vinyl, you know? And she made us lunch boxes in the very same way as I'm going to show you how to do it. And what she had done on that is she painted flowers and then she did calligraphy for our names. My mother did a lot of calligraphy for people and stuff. So our name was on it. We had these flowers on it and we now had a lunch box that nobody else had. That was beautiful. This is, you know, I just stole her idea and I've been making these types of packages to put things in for my granddaughters, for other people and whatever. This is actually for a child. This will be for a child. And what I fill it with is like when we start going Toys for Tots is I'll fill it with crayons and maybe some watercolors and coloring books and those types of things will go in that. And then I'll just give it to Toys for Tots. My granddaughters are a little bit too old for this. But first of all, you need a cylinder thing. You could use cardboard, but I save this just for the metals. You need some fabric or heavy paper to cover it, but I use fabric, and I will tell you that quilted fabric is the best, but I didn't buy any fabric for any of these projects. I already had it. You know, you have little bits and pieces of fabric all the time. You wonder, for the cardboard one, of course, you're going to wonder under it, draw it or measure it out and wonder under it. You'll need rulers, a tape measure, and an iron. Now, no matter what, you do still use an iron. Okay, so for the cylinder one, that's metal, and that you're going to cover it all with a drawstring tack. You measure from the top metal ring, you know, there's that little lip on it, which is the metal ring, and you've got one at the bottom also. That the thing is that you're going to measure from the top of that cylinder to the bottom of that cylinder, and then you measure the circumference, and that's what you're going to put on your pattern. But when I'm on the wrong slide. Metal, I just did it. Okay, so your circumference this time, you're going to have a 1/2 inch. With the circumference, you're going to add a 1/2 inch. And that is so you can overlap and you never run out of paper. The length of the cylinder is I want you to do the length of the can and then add 8 inches. And that 8 inches is going to come in handy when you start sewing. You trace the bottom of the coffee can, okay, onto your wonder under paper, and then you make it a 1/2 inch larger, because that's going to be your seam allowance. The way to do that, if you do not, you really can't say this is this size circle or whatever. It's kind of hard to find your center point. So on something like this, you can do it, but it's kind of hard to do that. So what I do is I just take my ruler and I just start going around the circle, and every so often I do a 1/2 inch and then I free draw it. It really works well. Now you're going to pin the patterns onto your chosen fabric and cut them out, because this you make on paper first. Excuse me, you make this one on paper first. So when you do that, after you have cut it out, then I want you to divide the bottom, which is the round part, and the rectangle. Oh, I want you to divide the bottom into 4 equal parts. All you do is fold that circle in half, mark that with a pin, and then fold it the other way and match up the 2 pins, and you've got edges for another 2 pins. That's folding it in half. You're going to make a seam in the back of the long piece of fabric, and you're going to do because that's going to be your back seam, and you're going to do that a 1/2 inch, and I usually do trim it to about 1/4 inch, and that's going to be your center back. So to find center front, you just take the center back and match up the bottom, and there's your pin at the center front. Once you get that, then you can divide that into another 2 by putting the pin and the center back together, and you've now got the body of the fabric. You've got it at the bottom. You've got 4 equal pieces, and I actually go around the circle. I either sometimes I do a draw. I gather I gather a little bit of the circle. You don't have to do that. What you can do is make little cuts around the circle so that you can ease it in, because remember, we made it a 1/2 inch larger than what it really needs to be. So what you want to do is make a few cuts. And I usually don't make those cuts all at a 1/2 inch, but that way you can ease it around, and you're going to match the pins from the top of the can, the fabric from the top of the can, and the center or the round piece. You're going to match those pins. Then you just sew it on. You just pin it first and then sew it right sides together. You now have a cylinder. Okay, you want to hem the top of that cylinder, and you can do, you can do one of 2 things. You can hem it, and then I'm going to show you the easy way to do it. You just hem that, and then you take a piece of ribbon or whatever to tie it, and you just tie it, and you have a little, you go down a couple inches and just tie it. That's good enough. With mine, I put rivets in it, and I rivets in before I hemmed it, and then I went ahead and threaded the cording through it. But you can do it either way, and then you just put the can into it. You can do all sorts of things with these cans. You can use them for, for gifts. You can use them for anything. These are basically reusable cylinders, or you could do it in Christmas wrap and have them use it next year for somebody else. Okay, now I'm going to talk about covering a box. And I will tell you something. Well, I won't tell you until we are actually going to demonstrate this. But you find yourself a real sturdy box. You want to use a sturdy box, and you can use all sorts of boxes. I'm going to show you the types of boxes a little bit later. What we have with the boxes is I use cigar boxes. Go to a store that sells cigarettes. There's a lot of those hanging out around, and you go in and you just say, can I get some cigar boxes? And they may charge you $1 for them. They may charge you $2 for them, but they're very easy to get. So I go ahead and I get the cigar boxes. And what happens with that is then I go ahead and just cover them. And I'm going to show you how to draw out a pattern for that. Okay. So some of the boxes of the best are those boxes in which the top fits completely over the bottom. You can do these boxes in no time flat. I mean, you would be surprised. And then you decorate it. And I glue on different types of ribbon and bows, or you can we're going to go through some furoshiki gift wrapping during the demonstration phase of it. Okay, so these are boxes that I have covered. Now, the first one, the gray box, is actually a very sturdy box, and that's wallpaper on it, by the way. So I've ironed on the wallpaper. I did use a hot glue gun to glue it. The paper actually just goes to the edge because I don't want to fold any in, because I want to keep the that part of the box. I don't want to make it too thick that it won't hang over. The second box is a top flap, and that's Halloween. And I probably made that maybe 10, 15 years ago. The chrysanthemums, no, excuse me, not chrysanthemums. The flowers are, that's a cigar box, and it's a top lift cigar box, and that's what you want to use. And I got to tell you, they are so easy, and you can even cover the inside. And the small one with the Santa Clauses, I've got a lot of that fabric left. The fabric came from Paris. I bought it in Paris, and it's a super easy, and I'll show you how that, but we'll have demonstrations of all those. Now I'm going to show you something else. This is demonstration of wrapping with a gift. So you're giving a gift with a gift. My daughter and her daughter, both my daughters are born within just a couple days of each other. My oldest is born 2 days. Her daughter was born 2 days later. And my other daughter, my younger daughter, they were born only 1 day apart. So mothers and daughters' birthdays come a lot. In September was my youngest daughter's birthday and her daughter's birthday. Well, my daughter has a restaurant, an organic farm, and you name it, but they use a lot of aprons. So what I did was, and her daughter was working as a barista, and I had bought her a dress. She really likes vintage dresses, and I found this pattern for vintage aprons. These aprons it's a 1929 pattern. So I thought, oh, she's going to love this. And then I found some vintage shoes. Now on the dress itself, there's a mushroom that has red and white polka dotted mushroom top on it. And so that's the reason I chose that. And then I just chose other fabrics that I had to make the others. And I made 3 aprons because my daughter, they go through a lot of aprons. And then I made some other things for both of them, and I put them in a box, and I wrapped the box with the apron. And it turned out quite nicely. That's giving a gift. And when we go to the furoshiki, we're going to show you how you can do that for next to nothing. Now these, you only use 1 yard of fabric for this apron pattern. So, that's pretty inexpensive. But we're going to show you how to use scarves, which also become your gift. part of your gift. Okay. Now we are going to go to demonstrations.
So do you need to stop screen sharing?
I do.
Okay. Demonstration.
Okay. Is this, no, this isn't going to show it right. It doesn't show me. It's Sheena's in the middle.
Well, if you start talking.
Oh, you think? There's some questions in the chat box too I want to get to.
Okay, let's go. Speaker view. I don't know why that's happening.
Okay, in the chat box. Oh, you ladies rock with problem solvers. Okay, thanks, Gypsy. Okay, cute poinsettia box. Oh, well, now we have a problem with me not being, oh, I'm muted. No, I'm not. No. Sheena? Sheena, are you there?
Let me try and fix it.
We don't have. Ladies, on your screen, are you just seeing Sheena or do you see me?
We see you.
Okay. Okay, you won't.
Yeah, we're seeing you, Debbie.
Okay, great, great. Oh, Peggy Munson's there. Hi, Peggy.
Yes, hi there.
All right, can you see in front of me?
No, all we're seeing is your torso, your upper torso.
That's right. I want to get this.
We
This
don't
is-
see your face
Take
or
that.
what you're doing.
Okay, well, you soon will, I'm hoping.
It's getting better,
Better.
better, yep.
They see us.
They see exactly what I'm seeing right there. Nothing. Okay, now we had this going the right way a little earlier. How in the
Well,
world?
you asked me to move that.
The what?
You told me to move this.
Yeah, but it won't come on that. It's way too high. Okay, let's see if this will work. Do you see, plug in the iron.
We see your table.
Oh, you do see the table now. Well, okay, that's what I want you to see. All right, the first thing is I'm going to show you how you make the pattern for the box that has the lid that comes completely covers it. And you'll see that this is, I've got the bottom here. And it actually comes out easier when I do both sides. Okay, you see that, but it goes all the way down. Now, the way that I drew this is something that I thought of yesterday. And I gotta tell you, I've been drawing these boxes by measuring them and drawing it out, and it has been so time consuming. So what I did was, I thought, there's got to be an easier way of doing this. And, you know, I've thought that for years because I've been covering boxes for years. And be darned if I didn't find a way that takes you about 2 minutes. What you do is you start with this side because you only want just the length of that. So then I draw a line there and a line there. Now, if you have a pattern on the top, you may want to use, as you see, I've already ironed on my Wonder Under. But if you have a pattern on the top, you want to start like this. You want to do this first, and then I traced around the top of the box. Then I did this side. I lined it up and I did this side. Then I did the front and then I did the back. Now, I do not know why I haven't been doing this, but I haven't been doing this. Then I go ahead and I make I bring this out so that it's going to go to this edge. So I actually extend this to where these two meet. And I'm always going to cut out. This is the back of the box, and this is are these sides. And that's where you, like you were making a book cover or covering a package. I cut out this orange. And the reason being is because I don't want that bulk. Plus, I want to make sure I get the Wonder under there so that it'll iron on. So what I do is I cut out just this. All I do is from corner to corner. So this is real simple to do. Are you able to see this are you all able to see this?
Yes.
Do
Okay.
they see a large,
Do you see a large part of it?
do they see a large picture of you?
Do you
or
see a
this is-
large picture of me or a small picture?
Large.
Large. Okay, so we're having problems here. Both of us see small pictures. Okay, so all I'm doing is cutting these out, and I'll show you why. Well, you can figure out why. Whoopsie daisy. Now, once you've put the Wonder Under on, you actually have bonded those edges, so you shouldn't get a whole lot of string coming out of it. Your threads should be pretty much bonded because Wonder Under is plastic, but I got to tell you something. Years ago when Wonder Under first came out and I was doing something with it, applicating, I think. And what happened it was really late at night and I ran out of Wonder Under, but I was applicating on a t-shirt or something for my children and one of my daughters. And so what I did is I thought, well, I wonder if you can use plastic. And so I just cut the plastic the same size as the pattern. And then I went ahead and bind it together with an iron onto the shirt. And you know what? It worked wonderfully well. Now, of course, you're going to have to take off your Wonder Under paper. I need to do a couple things with this. My paper is not coming off as easy, so sometimes you have to warm it up to make it come off better. Okay. Do you all know what Wonder Under is? I'm not getting an answer for that. No, they're unmuting themselves. Okay. Well, this should have been done a little bit earlier. But I wanted to show you how the pattern is done. Okay. Now, because this has lines on it, I made sure that I put this right up against this line, the pattern, so that I would have a straight lines to do it with. What you're going to do is you start with the sides. And you're just going to line it up like this. Or no, you start with the top. Excuse me. Nope, sides. That's right. And these sides will go all the way to the edge of the box. And that's all you want to do is get this to the edge of the box. And then move this up a little bit. And then you can iron it in place. I'll bet this box, if you started it from the beginning, you hadn't drawn your pattern or anything, I'll bet you'd have this box done in, a half hour or less. So you just iron it so that it adheres. And this is a pretty, okay, so pretty good little iron. Okay, now I want to do the top. And the thing is I now have, everything is lined up straight. You do have to think about things like that. And remember, just like a carpenter, you're going to be carpenters. So you always measure twice. In fact, this morning when I was measuring out for the cylinder, I don't know where I came up with something like 18 inches for the length. And I thought, Jesus, looks too big. And I remeasured and it was 9 3/8, I think. But that's the reason you always measure twice. Now this, I've got a little bit over the edge, and I'll tell you what you do with that. It's not real difficult to fix. Okay, so I'm just ironing this in place. That's all I'm doing now. I think this is going to turn out really well. And then I can just use my, I can either make a bow, or I've got some gold ribbon that I can put on it. That's shiny just like the box. And see what I'm doing is I'm making this much like you would cover a box or just like you're doing a present. So this little tag, this little triangle is just coming across, and this is a little bit over the thing. Okay. Now, what happens if you make a mistake at the bottom, at the edges, and they go over a little bit more than the bottom? Then all you do is it's pretty easy. I sometimes use an X-Acto knife, but you have to be real careful with an X-Acto knife that you don't cut into the box. Or I use a small pair of scissors, and I just cut off what that extra is. Okay. So it's very, very simple. Now I've made a little bit of a mistake here in that I didn't get it all the way to the edge. So what I want to do is right as soon as you iron it, you can see your mistake. So I just pulled it up because it's still kind of, the iron melts the fusing, the webbing. Now, piece of, there you go. There's your box. How easy is that? It is just wonderful. And now you can give a gift in this box, and then they have a box to give a gift in. You can do anything. You could use a green ribbon on this. You could use a black ribbon. You could use a blue ribbon. You could use anything. And what you do with the ribbon is you can use Wonder Under or fusible webbing. Now, I'll show you this. I leave this on my ironing board because when I'm sewing, what happens oftentimes is that if you're gonna, you might have to put something through You might have to put something through your, oh geez, a casing. And you always hit that you always hit that seam, and then you have to work it and work it and work it. I just tack down my seams like this, just an inch or two. This is fusible, but it's got the paper on it, which is really nice because it's really thin and you can use it with thin ribbon. Then I have this too, which is fusible, and you just stick that in. So I use this for whenever when I first put a tag on what I'm making, I use this first before I sew it on. What iron temperature? Usually cotton. You want it kind of high. You want it pretty high. Now what you just, like I've got a few little threads here. I just want to cut those off. And this is a beautiful box that you can use for whatever. Okay, the second one we're going to do is, this is an oatmeal box. Now this is not the sturdiest box in the world. It is the plant, it's going to be pretty sturdy, but I don't like the bottom of it real well, because as you can see with the bottom, it has a little bit of give. I may want to, and probably will, to make this sturdier, is I will go ahead and cut a piece of cardboard or something that I save cardboard for these types of things. And I will actually glue a piece of cardboard there to make that a little bit sturdier for gifts. Okay, now this, as you see, I have drawn a straight line. So I just used this upper tab, okay, to put my ruler right up against it and make sure that I didn't have the ruler crooked or anything. And then I drew a line. So that's my center back line. That's where I'm going to start gluing. Okay, I'm going to do the top and then this. So this is a cylinder that you're going to use. And I probably should have taken off the paper beforehand, but I didn't. So there you go, guys. That crazy lady didn't get her. Oh, because I wanted to show you the whole thing. That's probably why I did that. Okay. I'm not getting. Okay, this should come out easy. Voila. And this fabric, I got to tell you, I have a whole bunch of this. I didn't even know. I guess I didn't remember that I had it. I have a fabric closet. And when I was looking through Christmas fabric, I found this, and I have yards and yards of this. I did not yards and yards. I probably have 2 or 3 yards, maybe even 4. So what I'm going to do is, I'm a clockwise person. So I do things clockwise. You can do them however you darn well please. But the first thing I want to do is I want to get about, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches on that. I'm going to lay it along that line, but I want to make certain that I get it up here too. So then you just, whoops. Well, I'll be darned. Can you see what, I mean, you can't see what I'm doing. There you go.
Yes, we can see.
Oh, you can see. Okay. And you're going to go all the way to the edge, all the way down. Now you're going to go over that part of that, just like when you're ironing. Just pretend like you're ironing. We all know how to do that, right? We all iron shirts, and, or if you're like me, you did. I didn't do sheets. Pillowcases. When I was little, we did, that's what our ironing was. But my mother had an iron right, because as you can imagine, with 11 kids, there was a lot of ironing.
Debbie, I think the generation of ironing is passing. My daughter-in-laws don't iron anything.
You know, I know that's true. And but there's still a lot of things that I iron.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, you could, I do use the dryer sometimes and put in a wet cloth. Yeah, well, I do that sometimes. But some things like, you really need to press, I think. Like fabric, yeah, well. Yeah. And I don't worry about washing this fabric because we're not gonna be washing it. I mean, we're not gonna do anything that it's not gonna hurt it. Okay. And this is, again, this is really hard to make the pattern. You just draw the circle, then make it a 1/2 inch larger. If you're doing a can, I don't. This one, you only do the one thing, and it overlaps so that just in case I measured it wrong or whatever, I always like to have that little bit of give. I always worry about myself that I've done something, you know. It'd be just my luck to make some, and I've done that before. Just my luck to make something and goof it up at the very end. Okay. I now have, and I can trim anything off the bottom. Right here, I've got a little bit to trim. And you now have a very nice container. Okay, so we've got that and that. Now we're going to be doing a little bit of furoshiki, which is a Japanese art of wrapping, but we're going to use it for gift giving and wrapping. So I went to 2 thrift stores, just 2. And I don't know where my other piece of fabric is, but, and you want, with furoshiki is always a square. But I got to tell you, when you have something that isn't a square, use the same method, but you can't call it furoshiki. So I got this beautiful scarf. These are all scarves, by the way. And I got, ooh, this one is a Chinese silk scarf.
Beautiful.
I know. And you want to see the one, I can't figure out where my other piece is, but I think I took it home. And this is another one, and it looks just like, doesn't that look like watercolors? Okay, you know how much I spent on these? I went to 2 thrift stores and got 4 scarves, and it cost me $2, $4, $6, $7, $9 for 4 scarves. I mean, but they're all gorgeous scarves. They're all gorgeous. This one is kind of a rayon, but the way that it's made is they've taken the threads and they've made the little tassels with the thread, which I think is really neat. Okay, so we're gonna do some wrapping now. I'm gonna have to get way down. Let's see, how am I gonna do this so that you can see? Can you see most of the screen? Okay. Let us try this one. This is going to be, Lisa, I think if we move this way back, there, now you can see it, because I want to actually get the, okay, great. Now, I'm laying this at a diagonal, as you'll see, ladies. Okay. Now can you see what I'm doing well?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, so I'm going to lay this kind of in the center like this, and we're going to wrap this package. Now, you can wrap any kind of a package here. And I know this looks like a lot, but you need a lot of fabric. This, I would say, is probably 30 inches, a 30-inch square. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go like this and tap it under. Okay, and I want to get it real tight on the sides. Okay, so I'm going to pull it. Now I bring this side over like this, and I tap it under. Okay. Oh, geez. Okay. Now, I want to take this and I want to kind of gather it up like this, because I'm going to bring this to the center. Whoops. I actually need to tuck that in a little bit more. This silk is really silky. And there is furoshiki cloth that you can buy on the internet, I noticed. But with me, I'll just go to the thrift store. Actually, it shows this to go to the back, doesn't it? Lisa, I'm having trouble with this silk. Okay, but I've gone
Because you
over.
don't want this flap to be down, right?
Yeah. But how did you do it so that the flap, I know you did yours so the flap, wrap the box.
Okay.
She's much better at this than I am.
Going to go like that.
Sorry. Oh. Jeez. Is this hard or what? For me it is. But then I don't wrap packages very pretty. And you do a square knot on the top and it looks very beautiful. And then you just flip out so it looks like a bow. Now she's got this completely wrapped. Is that not gorgeous? I think that's just gorgeous. We're going to wrap another one using a little bit different technique. And I will tell you, go on the internet and just put furoshiki, Furoshiki, furoshiki wrapping, and a whole bunch of videos will come up. And it will talk to you about how to do it. So what you're doing with this is you're wrapping a gift in a gift, just kind of like what I did with the aprons, is you wrap a gift and a gift. Oh, this is the back side, okay. Now this one is a little bit different in that I'm going to put the box, I'm actually going to put the box up here a little bit more, so that what happens is I have a longer tail here than I do on the other. Now I'm going to bring this over like this. Okay. And then I'm going to bring this over like this. Okay, but I'm not going to tuck it because I'm going to use that in a minute. And then of course I want to make my knot. And you want to just kind of ease in that so that you have a nice look to the back, and you'll have some, it's almost like some pleating. Okay, and a square knot up here. Okay. And then this that I have left, I'm going to bring it back over like this. Because what I'm now doing is I'm making, and I'm tucking it under so that I have a little bit different. Oh, this is not working.
I think it goes the other way.
It goes the other way. What do you mean? Oh, you're right. You're right. It does. It does.
Yeah.
And then it's just a matter of doing this. And these are all demonstrated. What do you, so I think that's enough of the furoshiki, but what I'd like you to do is take a look at all the different things that you could do that would give you these beautiful packages that you could go ahead and make. So this with the poinsettias is a cigar box. And the only thing that's different about a cigar box is that you probably want to, this is a wraparound. So I drew the top of the cigar box, and you can, any of these boxes you can actually put cloth in, okay? You can use velvet if you have any velvet hanging around, and I do from doll clothes and stuff that I've made. But this is a cigar box. You've got all the furoshiki, of course. This one is just a box, and it's got wallpaper on it. We can set this up just a little bit. We're having, for some reason, earlier when we practiced this, it was perfect, and now it's not quite so perfect. But all of these things can be, I think that we're gonna have to, oh, this is a Halloween one that is older than dirt, kind of like me. Okay, this is wine bottles. If you're gonna give wine bottles as a gift, or wine as a gift, and it's actually 2 pieces of wine bottle, and you'll see that it's wrapped from the corners, and then here are it just in a tube, and then you tie the top so that you can carry them. Now I made a whole bunch of liqueurs this year, and so this is how I'll do all my liqueurs. I will wrap them this way. Okay, and you've got, this is just a bag that I've made, and I just squared off the bottom so that it's there. This is that little Santa the little Santa box. And then last but not least is, oh, wait, Lisa has something to show you. Lisa, why don't you come over? We need to have you show that because that's so gorgeous.
Okay, this is just a square piece of fabric with 2 wooden handles. And what you've made here is a furoshiki tote bag or purse that actually is very, very roomy. I'll put a couple things in it for you to see. And easy to carry, super easy to tie. Of course, very popular to use in Japan with handles, as they make very easy tote bags to carry.
And so these all come, there's videos on all of these. In fact, there's one that's just on bags that you can make, and the bags are good for gifts. You know, if you make somebody a bag and then they, Lisa was telling me that she had gone to a store and she didn't have a bag with her, but she had some fabric with her, and she actually was at the Asian grocery and she made the bag, and everybody around just thought it was the most wonderful thing in the world. Are there any other comments or just
So I
or
have
do you want to go ahead and finish off by telling them about the new classes?
So thank you everyone for attending today. And you probably can't see my talking head, but I really, really appreciate you attending, and just wanted to let you know that we still have some very interesting classes coming up in the coming week. I'm going to tell you about what's happening next week. If you're interested in volunteering for NKA, there will be a class on the October 25th that will focus on that. And a very interesting class on October 26th on online and internet security. On the 27th, we have an Aguas Frescas class that will be very informative. And also on the 27th, a class called I'm Just a Bill. And the 27th is a very popular date because we also have a class, Healthy Living for the Brain and Body. And so I hope if you haven't already done so, to sign up for one or some of those classes. And that is all I really wanted to say, other than thank you for attending.
And Lisa and I are finished with our 3-part, and I hope that it gave you some ideas and get you going. You know, if you're like me, I've already got most of my Christmas presents done, but I haven't got the wrapping done. I hate to wrap gifts because I never do it very well. So, and last year I gave just plain old bags. I did all the gifts in bags, but this year I'm going to be a little bit more creative. I think I'm going to make aprons for everybody, even my brothers, and wrap everything in those.
Okay, well with
Okay,
that,
thank you very much for attending.
thank
Are
you.
there any further questions or comments or whatever?
All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much,
Thank
everyone.
you. I think that Gypsy was talking.
Oh, was she?
I don't know. She's muted.
Well, then she's,
Unmute her. Oh, maybe she's
I
not.
don't know how to it doesn't give me that option.
Yeah, it does.
Your,
Here.
your packages are beautiful, you guys. What a great idea. They're gorgeous. My gosh,
Thank you,
I think
Peggy.
just hit her microphone.
beautiful.
Anyone else?
Thank you so much. You did a great job.
Thank
And
you.
those ideas are wonderful. I'm going to try some of them.
Great.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, how did it go?